welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be adding 3,840 watt hours to our battery capacity. We're going to make a DIY system that's going to live here in our solar room, and stay tuned because here it comes. And what we're going to do is we're going to take 3 LiFePO batteries, put them in parallel. I want to go with a 24 48 volt system, but right now we're going to stick with 12. We'll just have to do some upgrades and modifications later, but we're going to use 3 100 amp hour batteries right now hooked in parallel to give us 300 amp hours, and it'll be at 12.6 volts. And we're going to use a 3500 watt Vevor inverter. It has a 7,000 watt surge, and we're going to add some DC ports to it, and it will be a permanent situation. It's not going to be one that we can move around. I guess if we wanted to put some wheels on it we could, but we're going to use a rack that I already have to put the batteries on and make that to where we can run our transfer switch off of it or the AC200P, or we can combine the two together to take us up to 5,840 watt hours. So we'll show you the process. I won't go real in detail. I know you've seen 100 of these videos, but we'll try to do the best we can and show you what it does and how it works. Okay, we got 3 LiFePO batteries down there. We're going to hook those in parallel. Got our inverter, Vevor 3500 watt inverter right there. We're going to hook that to them. We got our solar coming in up here, and we're going to put this all together and we'll keep you posted. I'm going to kind of show the layout of what we're going to do. We're going to put this piece of plywood in this cart around the inverter. We've got our batteries, paralleled. Nothing's hooked up to them yet, but I think we're going to lay it out like this. Going to go drill some holes, put it all together, and we'll show you how we wire it up. Alright, I wanted to show you the back here of all the wiring. We have our fuse box up here going to all of our DC outlets. Everything is individually fused so you can get the full 10 amps of power. We have our terminal blocks here that are feeding the fuse boxes, and then from our batteries we have it coming up the negative going through the shunt right here into the negative. We got our positive right here, battery coming into it, the inverter's coming off of that. We have a 300 amp fuse or circuit breaker right there. And the only thing I don't really have a fuse on is I did put a little light in there. Not real concerned about that. Pulls very little amperage, and it's really just there for emergencies in a blackout or power outage. I can turn it on. It's a little dark in there to see everything. Got it cleaned up as good as I can. But there's our 3 batteries. They're hooked in parallel. We have our 3500 watt Vevor inverter, and so far it's worked perfectly. And just wanted to give you kind of a background of what's behind everything. So there's a lot of wiring back here. We got it cleaned up best we could. Doesn't look too bad. Could look better, but it is what it is. Nothing's touching anything. Everything's secured, and that's what the back looks like. Okay, this is the battery capacity monitor that I'm using. Right now, it's just to preface, it's a very rainy day today. We're getting rain right now, and we're still drawing about 68 watts off the solar. And over here, if you see the amperage, it says plus 5.17, fluctuating around a little bit. But anytime you see a plus here, that means we're charging the battery. And if you have a plus on your amperage, then your watts are a positive as well. So we're getting 5.28 amps charging at 6970 watts. We're at 98%, 296 amp hours on this 300 amp hour system. So just to show you how that works, if I were to charge or plug in my R600, we're going to start seeing that there. Watts are going down, and we're going to switch to a negative now. So now we're negative 2.36 amps and 32 watts. So what that means is we're discharging the battery right now. So at a 29 watt clip, because we were getting somewhere around 70 from the solar, so it kind of offsets that. As you can see, we got a 98 watt draw on from the R600, but yet we're only showing a 28 watt draw here because the solar's offsetting the difference. If we unplug the R600, you're going to see that reverse and go back to positive, and we're charging at 69 watts again. Make sense? Okay guys, I want to show you one of the big things I'm excited about with these 300 amp hours worth of Dr. Prepare batteries is now I can use this as a charging station as opposed to the AC 200P, and that's one of the other reasons why I added 3 cigarette lighter ports. So we'll try this. Some of these batteries are pretty well topped off, but the nice thing about this is all of these are independently fused. So we're looking at pulling 99 watts on the EB70. We're up to 66 on the EB55, and we're up to 98 watts there. So if we look on our screen, we're pulling that without any problems. We do have about 160 watts of solar coming in, so we're only going down by a few watts, but these batteries are pretty much topped off. The EB70's already only pulling 20 watts, 67, and we're at 97 on the RC600. So I can literally take, if I wanted to, and any power station that takes the power delivery, I can put 60 watts in it as well. So I can literally charge 3 smaller power stations, and if I want, I could hook up and charge the AC 200P from this right here, or from an SAE plug that I have right there, because that can go either in or out for charging or discharging. And again, we also have our 3500 watt inverter. So this is a nice setup to where everything's being charged by solar, because it's going through our charge controller, or we're pulling it from the AC 200P, or we're pulling it from these batteries, but everything's being charged from the 1200 watts of solar on the roof. So I don't have to put solar panels out in the yard unless I just want to, and I can charge all these small power stations right here just by plugging them in to these outlets. Okay, I wanted to show you I'm pulling 2,358 watts, bouncing around a little bit there, off this 3,500 watt Vevor inverter. Its fan's not even on. I've got all the switches on my transfer switch switched over, and we're actually using the air fryer right at the moment. That's why it's jumped up to 2,300. It'll cycle up and down as it doesn't run constantly. And at that rate, it says I'll run an hour and 50 minutes. Of course, we know that that's not the case. It's going to kick on and off, and once we're done using it, that'll settle back in. But yeah, this inverter I'm pretty impressed with. Let's take a look at this. Got our 3,500 watt inverter, 7,000 watt surge. Got our battery capacity monitor. We got 4 DC plugs over here. 3 are cigarette lighter. 1 is a 65 watt power delivery with a 3.0 quick charge. We got 2 5521s where we can run refrigerators, portable. And we have a input or output SAE connector. We also have a input or output Anderson connector right here. So we've got 3 Dr. Prepare 100 amp hour batteries in parallel. I plan on adding more of these batteries down the road, but right now I'm going with the 12 volt system. I'll have to upgrade to 24 or 48 down the road, but right now that's what we're looking at. So we got 3820, I think, is the watt hours right now, so I can literally run anything I want, charge power stations from here. My one downfall right now is I have a charge controller that is a PWM, and it doesn't work real well. I did have this hooked up there, and this is great for sealed lead acid. I have one of these in my shed and it works great, but for LiFePO 4 batteries it just doesn't really work that well. I was getting over voltage warnings constantly when the battery was being topped off, so I'm going to have to upgrade to a bigger and better charge controller. But right now I just have that one, and it really cuts down on the amount of solar that I can get in here. So what I've been doing is just running the solar straight through the AC 200p and then charging from the AC 200p. Right now I do have it hooked to solar. We have our transfer switch on, and you can see we're pulling 128 watts, fluctuating a little bit up and down, but it runs really well. I've turned everything on in the event of a power outage between this and the AC 200p. Yeah, I'm pushing almost 6,000 watt hours that I can have access to in the event of a power outage, so I can keep refrigerators running and stuff like that. But this is not a portable system. Obviously it's gonna have its home right here. I just did a piece of plywood and mounted my DC outputs on it, and we just have the inverter sitting in here right now. We just made a cutout for it. Not beautiful, but it works. Everything's fused. We have a 300 amp breaker on the back to protect in the event of overload. And I can just show you here real quick. We'll run. I just flicked everything on my transfer switch, and we're showing 462 watts that we're pulling, 35 amps. This inverter's doing it no problem. Now down here it's saying 700 because the battery capacity monitor, as I've said it takes off the amount of solar, so it's a net draw on the batteries. So we're getting, you know, about 150 watts of solar right now, and we have no trouble running everything off this, which I didn't with the AC200P, but I could either decide to do a DIY setup or try to buy battery expansions, and those are just so expensive. These batteries here are $2.99 a piece, and like I say, I think it's 3,800. I'll give you the exact 12.8. We're at 3,840 watt hours with those 3 batteries. Now, to get that in these battery expansions, it would cost me, geez, well over, probably close to $2,000, maybe more, but I don't have that in this setup, nowhere near it. And I also have a 3,500 watt inverter, which the AC200P is only 2,000 watts, and I have a surge of up to 7,000 watts, which I won't even touch or use, but this is going to meet and add to my system greatly. So tell me what you guys think about it. Leave comments down below, and as I've said in the last couple videos, we're sitting real close to 1,000 subscribers. Like and subscribe to the channel if you like the content we're putting out. But I appreciate all the viewership that you give me, and have a blessed day, and we'll see you in the next video. Now, one thing I did want to show you was the new MPPT charge controller that I hooked up to this. I had one in here, which you'll see at the end of the video, because I had mentioned I'd put a PWM, an old one, because one of the other MPPTs that I had was not working out right. But this is updated. This is the Invent. I don't know how you pronounce that, but that's the name of it. It's MPPT. It is an 80 amp charge controller. Right now I have it set at around 26 amps charge power. You know, coming out right here, we got our solar wires coming into it. I'm going to have to upgrade my wiring here because I'm using 10 gauge. It's capable of 30 amps, so I wanted to set the charge controller under that value, so you know we don't have any problems with wires getting hot. Right now it's nighttime. You can see it's just showing the battery voltage at 13.4, and this thing does have a draw on the battery about 2.64 watts. I ran it all day today on the transfer switch, and we just got down to 92%. Had a very overcast day, but it done really well. It was constantly getting about 400 watts of solar, and this is working out real nice. I'm really pleased with it. Did want to show you the light we did add to it. That's the Invent of emergencies, and I needed to see what I'm doing in here. I can turn this on, and I'll give a show of it to you with all the lights. In the event I would have a power outage, I just need to come over here, turn that light on. I can turn my inverter on. I'll just back up here, and you can see kind of lights the room up halfway decent, where we can get in there and do what we need to do as far as turning the transfer switch on, because I can still come up here and I can see right here if I needed to flick that up. And now you can see we're running refrigerator off that, and we're pulling about 122 watts, counting the light and the charge controller. So that's why I put the light on there. It does do a good job. You can see got my good old spark laying there helping me out, but it makes a Makes a big difference.